everybody that's online, everybody that's in person. Thank you for the February reInvent recap. My good friend Darko has come in, flown in to give the talk.
Yes.
Also a great excuse to hang out and
Yes,
have
exactly.
a nice dinner and all that good stuff. So I just wanted to say before we get started, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Blue Mantis. Thank you to HashiCorp. Thank you to AWS. Thank you to O'Reilly. We really appreciate your sponsorship and your support, and all of the sweet swag that we'll be giving away at the end of this. Credits and codes for folks online, and physical stuff for the folks in the room. So I don't want to, we got a lot of stuff to get through, so I'm going to shut up and go sit down, and Darko will take over and do his thing. All right.
I will try. Okay, so let me have a look here. Am I set up for success? Not at all, but I'm going to remove the Zoom feature. So folks on the Zoom chat, I think, so folks online, you cannot see me, or maybe you can slightly. I hope you can all hear me. I got a couple of thumbs up in the chat. But any questions that come through, ask Chris, or just throw them in. Chris will kind of potentially funnel them my way.
Yep.
So I don't have an intro slide. Usually what we have is like a little intro slide. Who am I and why should you care? But my name is Darko. I used to be what they used to call a system administrator. That was my whole day job. I managed anything from Windows to Solaris to AIX to HPUX to all kinds of weird stuff. And these days I go by a developer advocate. That means I get to yell into a camera for money and also go to do these kinds of things. I am originally from Serbia, hence the weird name, and I live in Seattle, Washington. So, well, not Seattle, it's a town called Maple Valley, but it's close enough to call Seattle. And yeah, today we're going to be doing a recap. And what is a recap? A recap is a lot of things that has happened over the last couple of months regarding AWS, Amazon Web Services, specifically at reInvent. And reInvent is our conference, the biggest conference of the year, where we talk about releases, new features, anything in the cloud that may be potentially interesting to you folks who use it. So I was there, I did a talk, I did a bunch of live streams, but today I'm going to talk to you about some of the launches, and that's the key thing, some of the launches. I have a slide deck. My slide deck has 194 slides, which I'm not going to present all in all, but I'm going to go through some of them, and we're going to just talk and potentially demo some as well. So, since this is a nice and tight group, feel free to stop me at any point, ask me questions, make fun of me, or just say, hey, I want to learn more. So, and let's start. We're going to be doing that. We're going to talk about, of course, generative AI and machine learning, because that is the word of the year. We're going to talk about security, talk about compute, talk about developer tools, databases, storage, management and governance, analytics, IoT, networking, migrations, and maybe a bit mention AWS partners. I'm not really sure. So let's kick it off. Generative AI and machine learning. By the way, Chris, I think you're unmuted.
I'm unmuted?
Yeah, because I see Chris Williams popping up as talking. I want to make sure that the folks, when I say unmuted, I think your mic is unmuted. So I don't want people to get double the noise from me.
All right, let's fix that. You are absolutely right.
There you go.
Okay, I'm shutting up now. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Zoom. Yes.
Can you make me a host? And
Yes.
I can also
Yeah.
moderate people.
So yeah, okay. Let's start with generative AI and machine learning. And also welcome. Hi. Welcome to the show.
Oh, Andrew Brown's in here too.
Andrew Brown?
Andrew Brown.
Say hello to Andrew. We have two more folks joining us as well. So I think if you want to, there's some name tags there. Okay, so let's get started with generative AI and machine learning, because that's kind of the thing of the day, right? It's a lot of folks out there start using generative AI. Now, I'm not talking about image generation, I'm not even talking about fake blog post generation. I'm talking about using it in an actual sense for your job, or even better, building it into your applications. So when it comes to AWS, we do have a thing called a generative AI stack. Now, a couple of years ago, we had a machine learning stack, which kind of looked different. It was similar, but we switched a few things around here. So we have three layers, right? Starting from the bottom, the infrastructure and foundation model training and inference. This is your virtual machines, your GPUs, your platforms to train those models. Then you move up, where you have the infrastructure and the platform, the service to interact with those foundational models. And then finally, you have the top layer, which is just applications that already have stuff, right? Like Q, like Code Whisper, like a bunch of things that actually, get stuff done using generative AI. The big thing last year was Bedrock, right? Amazon Bedrock is basically the place you go to host, run, and inference with generative AI. Now, does everybody here know what the large language model is?
Yeah.
Yeah? You don't know? Okay. So a large language model, in simple, is it's a machine learning model specified for generative AI. It's not the model that does one specific thing. It's this model that can do anything. Like your ChatGPT, that's a large language model. Like Llama 2 from Meta, that's a large language model. Like Titan for Amazon, that's a large language model. So it's the thing you talk to when you talk to it. And Bedrock is the perfect way to host those things. It has 21 best-in-class foundation models available there, from anything from Amazon to Anthropic to Meta to AI21 Labs, and there's a few more as well. You can have models, RAG, and a whole bunch of things available on there. Basically, that's the service people would use to build tools that base themselves on foundation models. What does this mean for you? This means that you can technically build an application that can talk to your users, that can be the front end for like your ChatGPT-ish application. So we all heard about ChatGPT. We all know kind of what it is and what it does. With Bedrock, you can build such kind of applications using different foundation models. Not only that, you can build applications or tools that utilize the power of large language models, but use your data to augment it, right? And actually, I'm going to try to show you a thing. Do you want to see a demo?
Yes.
Okay, this is going to be fun. Does this work? Yeah, okay. So I made a little application here, and this is me showing off my Rust skills. I got into the Rust cult. So this is a simple, I say simple, application that uses Bedrock as a backend for a generative AI tool, right? This application is running on my laptop, but it is invoking Amazon Bedrock as the smart thing behind it. So now what I can do here is I can do cargo run, which is just running a Rust application, pass it a model, and the model name here is going to be Claude V2. So I'm using the Claude V2 model. Hit enter, and it's going to compile because it's Rust. That took a way longer time.
No errors?
No errors. It's Rust. There's no errors ever. There's warnings. Ignore that. But it's going to ask me, sorry, that looks horrible. If I would zoom out here, there we go. What would you like to know today? And I would ask it, what is famous about Portsmouth?
Love it.
So it's calling the model, and it's answering these things straight into my console. That's it. So now, I'm not calling ChatGPT. I'm not calling somebody else's AI model, whatever. This is running in my own AWS account, and I have full control over it. All the data being sent is just heading to my account, and I just happen to have built an application that interacts with it.
So my question is, what is the thing like, I know Google and Azure have some thing that they can use your thing for your improving the bedrock,
okay.
bedrock kind of thing. So what is AWS's stance that this is your stuff, they are not touching it?
Yeah. So there's a clearly defined delineation where your data is and what's being used for it, right? As far as I know, there's no way for you to kind of like, there's no way for us to kind of take the data you train this model on. It's your own thing. However, there is this moment where, for example, you decide to fine-tune your model, right? You take the Claude V2 model, and you want to fine-tune it with your own data.
Right.
That data has to go to the cloud. Now, it doesn't go to us. It's going to go to the cloud, and it's going to be trained on this model. Well, you're going to train this model with that. So it's still your data. It's still within your own account. It doesn't leave your account. So
no, my question is, if you look in the fine print for Azure
Okay.
GCP, right? You basically give them, and even Meta, right? You give them unlimited use-only rights
Okay.
for this. But that's not the case in AWS, right?
As far as I know, it's not. So I haven't read the fine print. So, but I wouldn't be able to give you the 100% answer for that one. So.
They don't need to answer now.
Yeah.
You can just find and
Yeah, we can check it. Yeah, absolutely. Right. But again, there needs to be a very clear delineation of what your data is, what you provide us with, what we use, and what's within the scope of your account. But again, the beauty about this is it sits within inside of your account, and all of the calls being made by your clients, by whoever is going only to your account, and that's it. So, yeah. In a nutshell, that's Bedrock. But Bedrock can do a lot more. I can spend the whole night today doing demos on Bedrock, but we have 197 slides to go. So let me go back to this screen. Yeah, like that. By the way, I will have these little QR codes all over the screen, I feel like, and I think they're leading to blog posts. So if you want to read more about the specific thing, you should be able to do so. If this thing goes away. Does it go away automatically, or?
Can you slide it over onto your screen?
I'm going to give it a good old college try. There we go. Okay, awesome. Beautiful. So, I said there's a broad choice of models, anything from AI20 Lab to AI21 Labs, Anthropic, Cohere, Meta, Stability AI, and even Amazon. All of these things exist with hopefully more and more models coming in. Now, the what is it called? Because these are models owned and kind of provided by third parties, they have their own specific way you use them, which is usually a challenge here for me. For example, in my application that you've seen here, whenever I call a different model, I have to literally make a completely different call. Like in the backend, you send them a JSON object, but each model has a different JSON type or different structure and a different response. So each of these things, even though they're coming from the same place, they have a different way of interacting with them. So you have to understand that that's a different thing. And also, they all have different terms and conditions. So like, I don't know when it happens to like Llama, can you use Llama commercially or not? There's a whole thing around that. But yeah.
So my question is, okay, you have these broad choice of models.
Yes.
So in addition to that, do you have to pay extra for each of these models, or
So there's
like vanilla S3 that like, hey, it is, I pay for this for the storage, and then these are for your calls, and this.
You pay per call, and I think each model has a different cost to it. That's the thing. If you look at the pricing, and it's like a couple of tenths of a cent per 1,000 calls or 10,000 calls or something like that. And each model has a different pricing because, for example, Llama has 3 sizes of model, a 13 billion parameter, a 70 billion parameter, and I think one in between. And they require different resources to run and being able to respond in an appropriate amount of time. So that's also the difference in the price. A lot of times, depending on what you're building, if it's an application that simply needs to answer questions from a database, like there's a thing called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation, which means you tell the machine learning model, here's my data. When you answer questions, use the data from this database. And usually smaller models can work with that good, right? You don't need a huge model with all of this background information on it. So you can go cheaper there as well. Bedrock has a thing recently, it's called multimodal embeddings. So this is a multimodal language model. Try saying that 100 times. Multimodal language model. It's basically a combination of multiple things. It accepts images, text, and basically a combination of text to image to generate embeddings, right? So you will see a lot more models coming in that they're multimodal just because of those things. You see a lot of like new startups coming up and like devices that try to use multimodal things they can accept your question. Like you can write a question, you can also take a picture and talk about it. So this is the multimodal embedding of this model when it comes to a specific model here called Amazon Titan, which comes from us. So this is available right now, so if you're using Bedrock, this is a good way to do that. Additionally, to Titan's fame, there's a Titan Text Lite, which is a smaller model. Ultimately, it's a cheaper model, and it's a great thing for like text summarization and some things you want to do, like for example, fine-tune it a bit more. And there's also Titan Text Express. It's just a big old text generator model that's really good when it comes to RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. So These models come from Amazon, so this is the in-house built ones, and you will see another one, which is the image generation. So actually, I've never used this one. So do we want to try it? Let's try it. Let me see. So image generation is like your typical thing, like where you give it a prompt, and it should generate an image for you. So if I do this and this, I just need to log in to Bedrock. I'm doing it on my laptop, so you don't see my password. Oh, look at that. This is fun. So Bedrock, it's basically this. This is not how you would use Bedrock. This is basically Bedrock Playground. This is where you get to try new things and, for example, see how it works and what kind of calls it makes. So, for example, image playground. I'm going to select a model, say Amazon image, Titan image generation. Not a few details. Just select and hit apply. And then we give it a prompt. Tell it what kind of image to generate. Now, there's a whole thing called prompt engineering. The better your prompt is, the better your question is, with more details, with correct details, the better the image will look like, right? So, Chris.
Yes, sir.
What should we generate?
Let's go with the Super Bowl ad. Let's create a plastic orange dog laying down, looking up at you.
With 4 heads.
No, this Cerberus.
You. The dog happens to
While we're
have.
waiting for this,
Four
if
heads.
anyone wants some more info on generative AI and prompt generation, our AWS Pug meetup from last month is on YouTube. That was the topic. Lots of great content there, so you can take that and apply it to these tools here. I think last month we were focused on ChatGPT, but this here gives you an alternative to ChatGPT in the AWS ecosystem that we all know and love.
Let me see if I set everything here.
YouTube channel, right? AWS.
Is AWS Pug is our YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you Google AWS Portsmouth user group on YouTube, it'll show up.
Yeah.
Sorry, what happened?
So I've added the little description here. It says plastic orange dog laying down, looking up at you. The dog happens to have 4 heads, 4K high quality cartoon style.
Perfect. See what happens.
Let's see how. And this is
Possibly
the.
go wrong.
As a person who does a lot of demos, generative AI is the enemy of me, because I don't know what's gonna come out of this. That's the thing. Like, we did a show. I do a live stream, and we did a show on anime character generation. Oh no. Anytime you generate a female character, no, it's just like hide the screen immediately. So yeah, so this should be fine, I think. Famous last words.
Chris, do you know the best thing about a prompt engineer?
What is the best thing about a
They're
prompt
always
engineer?
on time.
Oh.
That's a joke.
That is a dad joke.
Yeah, thank you.
Been saving that one.
Yeah, yeah.
My whole life was up to this moment, this opportunity.
That 4K quality really get you.
Well, the weird thing is, like, even though I put 4K, it's gonna only generate a 1024 by 1024 image. But why is it taking so long? Oh, there you. Ooh, shoot.
Look like a dog, right?
It's a thing of nightmares. So, but what I'll point out, the images are of very high quality. Like, if you look at the details,
Yeah, the plastic sheen.
yeah, it's nightmarish. But this dog has 4 heads.
And look at the 3 eyes on the left one.
I don't know. And why
My walk.
does the dog have a flipped head on its back? This is the only one that looks actually like a dog, but it's seen things.
Stressed. Yeah.
It has seen things. Right, and now again, you wouldn't use this like this, right? You wouldn't go here and just, oh, let me generate an image. You would make your own application, be able to call this thing,
Right.
give it a description, generate things for you. For example, I've seen a lot of people, for better or for worse, generate images of products they're selling or potential products they're selling. So it's a good way to kind of quickly and automatically generate images. So,
Andrew says, sorry, I'm not adopting any of these rescues.
come on, Andrew. Okay, let's
This is probably something marketing teams would use a lot.
exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Amazon, the retail Amazon, actually, if you're a seller on there, I don't know if it is this behind the scenes, but they do have a tool where you can upload a product of your image and they run AI to give you better product shots of your product, and that is something that they offer to Amazon resellers. So I assume that's what it is behind the scenes. But yeah, that is something that Amazon's doing because they want you to be more successful on their platform selling, and they want customers to see better products.
And you can also upload a reference image, right? You can upload a reference image saying like, hey, it's a silver toaster and blah, blah, blah. Here's a reference image, put it in a kitchen or put it in a shed or something. It could potentially do those things. So, and again, you would use it this way. It's just for me to show you in a nice way, but ultimately you do it through your favorite command line application or your web application or whatever you build with.
And
so
I think that there are a handful of use cases where this is the appropriate way to use it. And so, one of the ones about being able to upload an image, and I said this last month to anyone who was on the call, but I work for a startup right now. We're making UI pages, and we have a very weird set of icons that we need generated. We paid someone to give us the first maybe 5 icons, and now I upload those 5 icons into a service like this and say, I want an icon in this style that represents X, Y, Z, and I'm now getting icons generated for free that I'm able to then go use in my application, but I wouldn't go develop a whole application to call these APIs to do that. I would use this GUI interface here because it's easy and accessible.
Correct. Again, there's a whole lot of ways to do that, and I think it's just a matter of fact, like how can you adapt this to your own application, and either to your own application or build it yourself. But it's a really neat way to do it, such a way. Now I wonder, can you ask it to like completely, like, could I send it my picture and make it? Let me try. I want to try something like this because I want to see what the reference image. Yeah, I want to see what.
Picture, right? Reference.
Yeah, you can upload a picture. So I'm wondering, can I give it like my own picture, and would it be able to handle that? The beauty. Let's see.
Darko has a plastic orange dog with 4 heads.
Darko is a. I think I should have an image
Did
of.
the use case come up last month where people are uploading their picture and then they're saying, put me in an office environment, and that becomes your headshot.
Your backgrounds.
Put Darko, go return to your office.
Is that it'll take the headshot or the image, and it doesn't have a body of knowledge of the images of you. So it'll create something that's similar to you, but it's not your head with stuff in the background. There is a thing from Adobe called Firefly that allows you to remove the background of an existing image and then put in something back behind you.
Okay.
So I wouldn't, for something like that where you're trying to like make it like you have a good shot, but it's you're in a carnival or something, and you want to turn it into a professional shot, then use something like Firefly.
Let's do something.
Did you hear that
But wild background.
Adobe got hacked?
Oh, wild. Okay.
Adobe just got hacked, I think last month or end of last year, and 22 million people on that cloud, right? The creative cloud. Their data got exposed.
Good thing you don't have anything there.
Yeah. So I uploaded my own image. It's kind of image. Okay, there you go. It has to be a smaller image. Sorry. Dark, too big of images. I don't even know what's the reference image size.
Yeah.
Feedback request. So I have a. What else do I have?
Therefore, I would suggest don't do that. It's recorded on YouTube.
Yeah,
So-
that's fine. I'm okay. I have this small one. Let's see. Bald man on a dark background holding a computer, pixel art style. I think this should be fine, maybe. Okay, it seems to be fine. So I've just uploaded my own corporate picture, and I gave it a little instruction. So let's see if it's going to follow and it's going to make it look like me, maybe. I don't know. I didn't tell it to have a beard. I didn't have it to have a red shirt. Tell it to have a red shirt, so we'll see if it's going to follow it. But basically, you can give it like a reference image, and it should do something similar to that. Now, in that reference image, I'm not holding a computer, so we'll see. But you can also give it something like a negative prompt, like for example, should not have hair or something like that. Like you give it something that it should not have on the image. This is a great way to make sure you can generate safe for.
Not bad.
Look at that.
But it's not pixelated, right?
It's not pixelated, so it didn't listen to me. I don't know how that actually works. The shirt is pixelated. I see a bunch of pixels in this one. but it made a decent copy of me, I guess. Not really. 4 clones, yeah, 4 clones. This is AliExpress Darko. So yeah, that is Titan image generation, among other things that we have.
That's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Again, I actually really wish I could have had more time to build an application that generates images, but that's a future feature of my little Bedrust application. And again, one of the important parts of foundation models is something called vector databases. This is going to be a new thing people talk about. The reason this is anytime you want to connect a generative AI model, such as Titan or even ChatGPT or whatever you're using, to connect it to a knowledge base, it usually has to be a vector database. It's basically a database of vectors. Like when I say a vector, I mean literally math vectors. And a lot of folks out there have been using something like called Pinecone. It's been a very common use case of it. But now you can do stuff, for example, in OpenSearch. If you want to host a vector database, you can use Redis Enterprise Cloud. And coming soon, and it says coming soon here, but in my head it's already launched, or it's going to come. Or Amazon Aurora should have feature for vector databases, and so will MongoDB. So you'll have a lot of options for storing your.
Version, or will be some new flavor of Amazon?
I think it's going to be a new flavor of it. Like it's not going to be a relational database. It's going to be some sort of a specific type of database. I feel like it's going to be a key value store. I don't know yet, but
It's coming soon. Also.
coming soon. Yes. So. Yeah. Well, actually, Aurora is a relational database, so it has to be a relational database. Now, what kind of database? I have no idea, but it's going to be a relational database on it. So, is it going to be Postgres, or is it going to be something completely out of hand? I don't know. Important thing, there's just a couple of bullet points here, and again, the QR code for your own reading is that responsible AI is kind of an important thing when it comes to doing proper generative AI, because remember, it can do almost whatever you tell it. And you've seen, I'm not sure if you've seen this thing float around the internet where somebody was chatting to a chat bot from Chevy or a Chevy dealership.
Yeah.
And they asked the chat bot about, like, what if I pay this $1 or something like that? Can you sell me this car? And it said, yes. Please say this is a binding agreement. And the chatbot says, this is a binding agreement. Of course, probably didn't work, but there's ways, for example, using where is it? I have a thing somewhere. Guardrails for, yes, implementing safeguards. Guardrails for Bedrock. You can kind of tell Bedrock or the models, like, you can't do these things. You can kind of put like little guardrails, like what it can do and what it cannot do. Because what happened initially, people built these chat applications using generative AI models, and it's just a generative AI model. You can talk to it about anything you want. It can answer your questions, do math for you, do your homework on somebody's Chevy chat support thing. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. Like again, making sure that you are combating this information. For example, watermarking your images all of the generated AI images can be watermarked, so that can be a thing. There's even like models that can detect written text that are written by generative AI. So whenever you go read a blog post by somebody and it feels kind of off, you can actually test, does it have patterns of computer generation? The same goes for images. So there's a bunch of things out there that can kind of help you and be more responsible when it comes to artificial intelligence. Very important thing about generative AI when you're working with generative AI is being able to evaluate a model. Now, I gave you this palette of models, right? Multiple different companies, multiple different tools. Which one is better? I don't know. But there's a way using Bedrock that you can evaluate those models. Basically, run automated tests against them or next to them, or even use human evaluation to see which one is better fit for your task. Because not all of them work great for all tasks. Some of them are really great for text summarization. Some of them are bad. Some of them are too creative for text summarization. Some of them are really good for answering questions.
So the first question, like choose automatic or human evaluation method, we have like reinforcement learning. Is it something like that?
Yes.
Where you can say, oh, I got this, and then as a human says, no.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah. So it's something like reinforcement learning, like you say. But it's when it comes to the human evaluation model, it's basically you give a bunch of prompts to a model, and then humans go and look through them, and say this one is good, this one is good, this one seems nice, right? And then based off of that, you give a score to your model at the end. Or there's even a way where the model can self-evaluate. It's kind of a weird thing where it generates questions for itself, asks itself those questions, and then evaluates the answers it gets. So there's also ways to do that. Yeah. But these are important, again, especially when it comes to picking the correct large language models, of course. Counting in the price, counting in what you're trying to do, so yeah. And one of more important launch, and this is more of a fun launch, and this is one that's absolutely Party Rock. It's the best named service we have, and it's absolutely free. So Party Rock is actually, you don't even need to have an AWS account, but it is one of those tools that it's kind of like, this is more fun than it should be. So let me give you.
Having a hackathon, right?
Yes, currently there's a hackathon going on with Party Rock. So I'm going to try to show this to you if I can. I really
Sorry, Darko,
yes.
It sounds like we might have gotten muted somehow. Just one person reported that in the chat. I'm curious.
Is your microphone from the next one?
Well, actually this microphone is not even being used for the thing. I see my.
Yeah, I agree. We're good.
We're good. Okay.
Never mind. Yep, we're good. Sorry about that.
Is it Andrew? Is it Andrew?
It's not Andrew. Yeah.
So let me show you Party Rock. So Party Rock, again, it's an AWS product, but you don't have to have an AWS account for it. It's free. There's certain limitations which you can do, but it's basically and hear me out, it's a generative AI tool to build generative AI apps. So you just tell it what you want it to be, and it becomes that, kind of. So I'll give you, well, actually, let's build an app. What should our application do? So it can be something like, I'll give you a couple of examples what people make. Like it can be a D&D dungeon master. It can be a image generator based off the current weather. It can be, I have no idea. Like, it can be something more technical. Like I'll show you one of the apps I built like a little open API schema generator based on a couple of inputs I put in it, right? But let's say it's got, Chris?
Sure.
What app should we build?
We should build a DevOps mentor that creates Terraform code for AWS environments.
Terraform code for AWS environment.
Here's the real challenge.
Looking at a screen like this is how real programmers work. What prevents you from coding like this? That creates Terraform code for AWS environments. The inputs it will get are.
It will ask you what kind of services you want to stand up, and it'll provide the HCL.
And in what region? It also understands typos, just so you know. It will figure it out. Ultimately, it will provide HCL, HashiCorp language as an artifact. Let's see if this is going to work. I have not tried this, just so you know.
I thought, I think you guys, in one of the keynotes, they said that they've taken the knowledge base of the last 25 years or whatever of AWS and like almost like a Visual Studio, right? That GitHub Copilot kind of thing.
We have that as well. Yeah, we have.
Is that GA or that?
Yes, absolutely. It's called Code Whisper. Code Whisper. So I'll show that in a bit as well. But here it is, right? So it's gonna you just describe the infrastructure you want to create. I want a single EC2 instance in a VPC that is behind a elastic load balancer and.
Andrew wants a bread baking app. What's the Spanish with bread baking?
Yeah.
He's Canadian, so.
There you go. That's like.
And is running Windows. Let's see. So now here, it starts to generate this code for us, right? Now, there you go. Here's the Terraform to create this thing. Right? There's a VPC, there's a gateway.
So it's sort of limited to 15 lines?
No. It should do more. I feel like. So it's still running. You can see little things on the top. So it is executing stuff. There you go. So there's a subnet here. There's a route. This is all the scaffolding you need for networking. Security groups. Load balancer. EC2 instance. It's selected as Windows AMI, so it's going to run Windows. That's it, right? Now, this is a very simple example of this application. Just a single input, describe what you want, here's the code, right? But I described the application, what it should do, and it did a thing, right? And then like you can have an additional thing, like for example, you can do more, like you can modify it by, there's an edit button here where you can add a couple of widgets, for example, like generate an image of this for some reason. Or like take this input and do that with it. So let me actually, and the beauty of this is I can make public, and this link now is available to anybody in the world. Like I can just give you this link, you go here, and that's it. It's called Terraformer. It even gives it.
That link will just give you the prompt, and then the person.
No, it gives you the whole app. The thing that I built here, and you now can just go to that link and generate your own Terraform infrastructure. So simple as that. But again, you can go to, like, for example, my apps. I've created an app called DynamoDB CRUD API Gateway Integration Builder. You give it a table name, you give it a partition key name, you give it a primary sort key, and additional attribute things, and it generates this specific template for you for this thing, right? What else do I have here? I have.
Language conversion?
Sorry.
If I give it the code like in Python, give me the Rust equivalent.
So that is a very challenging thing. And that's one of the things that large language models are not good at. Programming language translations are super hard. And I don't know why. I've seen people try to, like, here you go, Python, make JavaScript out of it. It does it, but it doesn't do it very good. There are specific language models out there that do it, and it usually boils down to a service that somebody has made and is charging a lot of money for it. Right? Because converting a whole Java stack to Rust is no easy feat, and companies usually charge a lot of money for it. So when you make a model that can do that, you usually, well, don't make it too public. So I don't know. I haven't seen it that really well. So, but you can also do things like you can, for example, so we made this fun thing. You took a product name, you paste the description, and it would generate a summary of that blog post, and also in an Australian summary.
Oh, okay.
So it would use like Australian slang and everything here. And I had my colleague Brooke help me with this, and she says it was on point, and she's Australian. So yeah, it was amazing. So yeah, you can build these kinds of things. Again, you can from silly things like those things, but also like generating a Kubernetes cluster. You can say I want 7 pods, and it needs to be in the US East 1 region, and it's going to generate me a command line CLI command to launch this specific Kubernetes cluster within AWS. So it's a nice way to do these things. Now, again, it's more for people to experiment than, well, at least that was my thought.
Or we have to have an Amazon.
No,
AWS
it's free.
Just go partydoc.aws.
Yeah, partydoc.aws. You create an account, but it's not an AWS account. It's just a completely different account, and that's it. So,
What kind of, you just give your email and that's it?
I think so. Yeah, it's been a long time since I created, but yeah, just an email. There's no payment. There's like a limitation of how much you can do it. There you go. There's some issues. That's not valid JSON. But yeah, it's generative AI, so you have to kind of try it a couple of times. But you will see a lot of interesting applications are being made, like Chat RPG, which is I think this was one of the first ones where but just a role-playing game. There's the virtual meeting thing. There you go. So you do that, and it will generate like a little image. It's not the best, as you see. Like, this is very poor image generation, but I feel like. And the thing is, since recently, you can actually change the model. So I can click remix. This is somebody else's thing they did. So I can edit it and say on my image generation, I think I can do here, and I can actually change which model it's going to use. So it is going to be using Stable Diffusion. Currently, only Stable Diffusion is available here, right? But like, if, for example, if there was a different image available, a different model available here, I can select a different model to do the image generation. So yeah. But yeah, that's PartyRock in a nutshell. So, okay. And again, it's free. You can try it out. It's there. It's just great. It's free to use for a limited time. I'm not sure what's going to happen. It's going to go like some sort of paid product or something. But for now, you can go play with it. There's like a limit of how much invocations you can do per 24 hours or something like that. So, but yeah, it's a really great way for you to kind of learn prompt engineering. More importantly, Code Whisperer. This is the tool that you talked about, the thing that can help you code, right? So GitHub has Oh, that's it. There's Copilot and Code Whisperer. I don't know if any.
There's one on ChatGPT also. OpenAI has a similar one.
But you go in ChatGPT and just ask directly there to do it. What Code Whisperer does, it actually does it on the IDE itself. Like you open up your Visual Studio Code, you give a comment and say, hey, I need to write a function.
Which we have to install.
Yes. So let me actually try to show this to you. I'll be honest, I don't use this too much. The reason is because I don't use VS Code, but I'm still waiting for a Vim plugin, so which they won't.
Sorry, what plugin?
For Vim.
Oh, Vim. Okay.
I'm a Vim user until I die. So
AI diehard.
I go, phew, I have WQ on my arm, tattooed on my arm. Just want to know how to quit Vim. So so if I would go to a file here and do like that's a Python, and I have the AWS plugin installed, I can just say write a function that will store a parameter it gets into an AWS DynamoDB table and import both 3. Okay. Is that it? Nothing more? You can do more. Come on. Okay. There you go. That's function. Boom. There you go. That's it. It did that for me, right? It's a really great way for you to do that. Now, what's great about this thing is that as you write your code, it is aware of your entire code base on this file, and it knows what you're doing, right?
What is the context?
So it knows the context. It's not just doing individual lines by itself, right? Now I'll say, call this function with the table name. Yeah, let's do that. And it's going to just tell you how to call that function, right? This is a very simple example, but as you get more deep into it, I had this, and it's generative AI, so sometimes you just kind of ask it again, or ask it nicely, give it a better prompt. But one of the things that I've seen is that, for example, I gave it a very detailed example. I said, like, store this JSON object, or store the JSON object into a DynamoDB table. If the DynamoDB table doesn't exist, I told it, inform the user and give them the actual AWS CLI command how to create that database and do not error out. And it literally created this wonderful function that did all of those things for me.
In what, Python?
In Python. So it technically supports a lot of languages. However, it's best in Java, Python, and JavaScript. I haven't tried it in Rust.
Ones, right?
Yeah, I could try Rust. I mean, I'll do it for you right now because, to be honest, I think it's gonna not do that well because it depends on what's the scale of the code base it was working on. So if I do Rust, I'll say write. I'll do the same thing. Function that takes a parameter and uploads it and writes it to a DynamoDB table. Let's see if it's going to do that. Option C. See, it doesn't. Like it just like it's not that good when it comes to Rust, for example. So it really depends. The same goes for any other thing. Some languages are better, some they have more information. In this case, it's not that good. So if you're working with Python, which a lot of us are, if you're working JavaScript or even Java, it's really good. So, but when it comes to Rust, not that good. Like you could potentially throw like Pascal at it, and it's gonna maybe not do anything. So, but yeah, there's another version of this thing, and that has been actually, if you're a Mac user, this is the best thing. So it's called Code Whisperer command line. It's gonna come out for Windows and Linux soon, but
You have to just do brew install and that's it?
well, actually no. There's a tool. It's called Code Whisperer for macOS. I think you can install it with Brew. Yes, Brew install Code Whisperer. Oh, sorry, CW or something like that. But yeah, the great thing about this is like in VS Code, if you type in post JSON data to an API endpoint. Who knows curl by heart, right? Right, curl. Just write a whole curl command to post a JSON object to an endpoint. I don't know that. So you can just do this, and it will just do that.
Wow.
There you go,
Pretty neat.
right? So it's amazing. Again, this is one of my favorite tools that came out of reInvent. It's just like, oh, just run this command, it will tell me whatever I need to, right? Or if you want to do something like, let's do something more advanced. Replace, or you can do something like replace line 14 in Etsy FS tab with foo. See, it gives you a sed command. So
how did you start this?
so I installed the tool called Whisper. It's a tool that's available. So if you were a user of Fig a long time ago, which was that's it's Fig. So if you do CW, so code Whisper CLI, it's basically it's Fig. So it was used to, Amazon acquired Fig. So yeah, that's it. So I think I have it somewhere here.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it says
Maybe.
shell integration.
Yeah, it basically integrates into your shell. Again, it's only Mac OS right now. So, but it's a really neat way when you want to remember a command. It's okay. It's great for these things. Don't ask it something weird. Like I asked it, make my shell look really cool.
So this will. So you load code Whisper. It has its own terminal shell, which is a Bourne or a Bash shell.
No, this is ZSH. So I'm currently running ZSH, and it just integrates into that. So
ZSH is basically terminal, right?
yeah, it's like Bash, right? Like I don't think I have it in Bash. I don't know if I can do post data to an API endpoint. Oh, it works as Bash as well. So yeah, it works in Bash. So it's great.
Talk about a time saver.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I think the whole thing about like, and I've been talking to people, and this is my own take, is like people like, oh, is this going to replace developers and sysadmins? I'm like, no, not at all. But it's going to save you a lot more time on like trying to think about, oh, what's the curl command? I need to do this. And like even if you're not doing curl, like let's do, you can do even things like post JSON data to an API endpoint using HTTPI. It's a third-party tool, and it will do HTTP and that's it, right? So it will actually show you for that tool how to use it. So.
Now, will it tell you if it? So you just said this third-party library. It knew it. Would it tell you if you asked it to use a third-party library and it didn't know how to generate the command, or would it try real hard and just?
I don't know. Let's try. What's the command line tool that's not too popular?
Well, let's go with something completely fake.
Fake. Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
I'm looking at my polar seltzer right here. So let's.
Okay. Post JSON to an API endpoint using authentication, but use the polar seltzer tool. Nope, it just goes to curl, right? So, but it did it correctly. It gave us, well, apparently the authorization is polar seltzer token. So,
this is true.
Okay, so
Why don't we try this one? Say, click post, use curl
okay,
to upload a text file into an S3 bucket.
okay, that's a complicated task. No, it doesn't. See, it's not really good because it just says curl put and the. It didn't know what an S3 bucket was, right? So it probably didn't understand it. I mean, it technically did it correctly because curl x put, it can do the put, but
No,
you need to do signature and all that fun stuff, right? So there's a whole thing it can do, but it's a really great time saver because some of these things you just don't remember how to do. And there is a tool out there on Linux. I usually like to call it out. I don't have it installed here because it's a corporate laptop. There's a cool tool. It's basically the F word. I'm not going to say it right now because we're recording, but it's a tool called Frick, which when you're typing a command, I don't know if I have it installed here. I don't. I'm not even going to try the other one, but so what it does, if you make a mistake in your command, you type the F word, and it just gets you the correct command, right? It's great. But it doesn't actually generate stuff for you, right? It kind of helps, it knows what you want to do and it kind of gives you a couple of options. So this is a way better version of that thing. So, awesome. Let's move on because we are only on slide 15 and it's been 44 minutes. Okay, so Q. This is kind of a, well, that's not it. There you go. Q. It's currently in preview, and it's kind of a chat application that's currently used on AWS. Like you go to the documentation, there's a little chat bubble that opens up, and you can actually ask it questions. How do I deploy a multi-AZ application on AWS? And it will give you a couple of things that you need to do that. It's basically kind of your little tool that can help you build stuff on AWS. But it also can help you, like, for example, figure out what's wrong. So you launch a CloudFormation template, and it fails. And you go into Q and say, what's wrong? And we'll say, well, apparently, you've done this and this and that. Here's a couple of options. So it's using generative AI. It's okay. It's a bit finicky. It's not 100% there. But it's currently in preview. But what's great about this thing is because people can start to use this in their own business. So instead of building a whole chatbot from scratch using Bedrock, you can use Q as like a little front end for your knowledge base or whatnot. So it basically creates a little conversation between you and your employees, your customers, whatever. And it's a really neat way to kind of do things. You will see Q implemented in, like, for example, a QuickSight dashboard, which is like a little dashboard that can show graphs and analytics of whatever data you have, and you can use Q to ask it questions about that data. So that's a really cool thing. It's basically a better search option. It can extract key insights, it can generate summaries, and it can just kind of help people do things, right? It's just all of these things that I talked about bunched up into a single chatbot that you can just deploy or use from within your AWS account. SageMaker. So SageMaker is our platform for, like, writing, building, and training models, right? If you want to do everything from scratch, you usually use something like SageMaker. Most people don't build models from scratch because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of money and everything. But if you are training your models, you're pre-training or fine-tuning, something like Amazon SageMaker is a great place to do it. And a recent feature called HyperPod, it's basically a way to do distributed training at scale. So, like, if you want to do a lot of compute across a lot of data, this feature has been just launched to GA that you can kind of do that. So really, really cool thing. Here's a feature that broke my demo at reInvent. So I was doing a demo at reInvent on camera, and this feature just came out. The new SageMaker Studio console. It's a brand new SageMaker Studio. It looks way better than the other one. Has actually VS Code built into it, with Code Whisper and all that fun stuff. But it broke my demo because, well, it was completely new and my demo didn't work with this one. But yeah, so if you've been using SageMaker in the past,
It does EFS integration?
yes, exactly. So you can basically mount volumes, like it's called their NFS volumes, basically EFS volumes to SageMaker now. So really good, really great thing. It's just a wonderful place to do machine learning.
So my question is, right, not trying to do this thing, but Azure just recently came up with a Fabric, right, where
Okay.
you have your Spark and your thing is, like, tightly integrated. What is the equivalent of that in AWS?
I don't know what Fabric is. Can you?
It's basically, essentially what they've done is, like, their equivalent of S3 buckets.
Okay.
They have the Azure blobs and the Gen 2, right? And behind the scenes they're using Synapse, which is basically Apache Spark.
Okay.
Under the hood. And they're using Delta data format. And so they've, similar to, like, Glue, they have the security built in. And you can expose that to tools like Power BI, Tableau. So you have your, the data engineers,
Yeah.
you have your ML guys, your data scientists using Spark or PySpark, etc.
I'm
And
thinking.
then you have your people like the business users
Yeah.
using, like, Tableau, QuickSight, or Power BI, things like that.
I think the closest thing to that is something called Data Zone. It's kind of a way to kind of unify all of the data from a data lake or from beyond to a single place where multiple different people can access it. Now, I don't think it has a front end like you're talking about. It has multiple different tools on top of it. I don't think there is a tool from AWS that does that.
Okay.
But Data Zone is a great way to start because it can unify all of this data stuff there. Moving on, SageMaker Canvas. Basically, this is the place where you can go in and do all of your fine-tunings. Now, fine-tunings are just a way for you to customize the existing models, not build it from scratch, but the big ones. This is where you can do stuff for RAG and a bunch of other things. So it's kind of just an addition to SageMaker to help you build and improve and modify, customize models that are available to you on AWS. And I left this one because it has my favorite name. It's a service called Monitron. Now Monitron is one of those weird services we have which are super important for a lot of customers, but not to us. Well, I guess not to us. It's actually a physical device that you attach to machines. So for example, let's say you have a lathe or a big mill or something, like made in the 70s. It doesn't produce data. It doesn't know what data is. But what you can do is attach a monitron device to it, and it actually detects changes in vibration patterns and like sound and whatever it's producing, and it detects potential anomalies, right? And now these new devices are, of course, a bit more advanced because they have some additional ratings, but they're using also machine learning to detect these things, to understand like, oh, okay, something has changed over the last couple of days, and the machine is producing different type of noise. So, yeah, again, it's not important for all people, but it's a very fun and interesting service.
Very difficult. I mean, if they were able to, it's a very difficult task because to capture those vibrations
Yep.
and all, you need a lot of engineering and just
Yep.
data acquisition. It's
Well,
very difficult.
Exactly, and again, it has a bunch of different sensors, and it kind of, you teach it what a good machine looks like what's a good performance, and when it detects anomalies based on sounds and vibrations and whole lot of things, temperature, for example, it will send you information. Something's wrong, something's...
It's expensive, right? Only like the defense and all.
I have no idea how these much. To be honest, looking at this, is this a big? Yeah,
They shouldn't be that.
yeah, they should be like, yeah, but like they don't seem that big, to be honest. Like I would imagine they're this size, like just judging by the print on them. So I don't even know.
So pricing on them to get the kit set up, $715, and what
Yeah,
you
that's
need
not that
is
bad.
you need the gateway that gets this online.
Yeah.
So it's not just looking at these. There's
Yeah,
additional
MCTP.
IoT infrastructure that you need.
Yeah.
But when it's down to just those individual components, a 5-pack of them is $575. So
That's not, yeah, $500.
$20
Yeah, so that's not that bad.
for an individual component.
Yeah, yeah. But it's a really cool thing, especially when manufacturing, especially with companies, manufacturers that use old machines. So yeah. Okay, we're kind of done with generative AI, which is great. It's still going to show up because this is 2024. So, but let's talk about a couple of security-related launches that are important. IAM Access Analyzer. Now, this is a new feature that basically gives you the ability to do custom policy checks. Now, IAM, it's Identity and Access Management, basically gives permissions to users on AWS to do stuff with your AWS infrastructure, right? Think of it as groups, roles, and policies that give specific people specific permissions. Now, this new service basically gives you a way to check these policies with what we like to call automated reasoning. Now, I would say automated reasoning is just a slide-in word for machine learning, but it basically checks for specific actions people can do, or new permissions being added to a specific user or role. So it's just kind of a great way for you to kind of potentially detect security threats coming from somebody giving themselves too much permissions or whatnot.
Or it could be like a mistake, right? If you have
Yeah.
multiple roles and then because of
There's something standing out.
you leak out something, right?
Exactly. But like in this example, you will see, I don't even know what this is, what we're looking at. So yeah, so like for example, accounts, these are different accounts, and they have accounts with the most active findings for unused access. For example, if this account called Ice Cream Store has a lot of access to, it has this many, how many ever that is, unused roles. So it has permissions to things it has never used. Like it has permissions to services it has never touched. Why does that account have that permission, right? Cut it down. So yeah, it's just kind of a hygiene thing as well. But again, power of machine learning. Identity Center, this is basically the whole, it's a way to kind of manage user data across all of the identity user data on AWS, right? So basically, all of the analytic services that you have, your data lakes, your BI services, if you want to give people access to all of this data across multiple AWS accounts, this is a really great way to do it, right? So they can use trusted identity propagation, which basically means that multiple different AWS accounts can trust each other or do like trust propagation, so you have permissions to access some data in some other AWS account. Security Hub, as the name says, it's a hub for security. Gives you a bunch of new great visualizations. It's a new dashboard. It gives you kind of ability to gain some insights, potential findings, and potential issues. So yeah, just kind of it's a little new quality of life thing, right? You can additionally central enable and configure something called Security Hub standards, basically just making sure that specific rules are being met, and if not, they're going to show up as findings. Again, for folks out there managing it, a lot of AWS accounts is a great way to understand what's happening and potential issues in security and all that fun stuff. So just a lot of things out there available for you when it comes to these things. Moving on to Guard Duty. Now, Guard Duty is this, it's a service that sits in front of your applications that's basically there to protect you from any potential DDoS attacks, right? So like denial of service attacks. This new feature is basically a monitoring thing for ECS runtimes for elastic containers. It's the default way to run containers on AWS. Basically, it's going to be doing threat detection for all of your AWS accounts who use containers and you enable it for, right? It is free for a while, but then it costs some money. So that's a really cool way to kind of potentially protect these things, right? The same goes for like threat detection for Amazon EC2 workloads. So it's more than DDoS attacks, but it's basically detecting potential threats to your virtual machines or EC2 instances. And the key thing is on both of these slides is this supports for AWS organizations. AWS organizations is just a way to group multiple AWS accounts together. So you would not store all of your resources, all of your applications in a single AWS account, right? Yeah. So you have multiple accounts that can usually be a lot of complications. So making sure even your test and dev and prod and whatever kind of accounts have access to this and have Guard Duty enabled is critical. Here's my favorite service of AWS, Secrets Manager. Secrets Manager is a tool that helps you manage secrets. Wow. It's basically a way to store secret strings, secret keys, secret passwords on AWS and retrieve them programmatically, right? For example, when you have an application that connects to a database, how do you do that? You have a connection string, and the connection string contains a user and a password, right? And people, I used to do that by hard coding the password in my code, which is not good, or it's a configuration file or something like that. Yeah, I know. And you shouldn't do that. So there's better ways to do it. For example, Secrets Manager has an option to just, if your application has permissions to Secret Manager, it can just make a call and retrieve the password and use that password every time it tries to make a call. That's great, right? But the better feature about this is that it can also rotate passwords for you. For example, you have a database, and every 30 days, every 10 days, it can automatically rotate those passwords for you. So you would never have to know a password because it's Secrets Manager and it's constantly being rotated. HashiCorp has Vault.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Vault is also a feature similar to this. Am I correct?
Yeah, it also will store your secrets and key value pairs and rotate them.
Yeah.
Dynamic provisioning.
So that's an option as well. The new feature about Secrets Manager is up until now, your application had to pull passwords one by one, or pull secrets one by one. For example, if your application had multiple passwords for multiple different services, it would have to query the service multiple times, which would cause, first of all, cost, but also just slowness, right? Now what they have is a new feature called batch request. Basically, you can just retrieve a group of objects in the same request that you could get just JSON blob back and you parse it in your application the way you want it. So.
Weird question, and you
Yeah.
may not know the answer to it, but if I were to request a batch of 5 and I only had permission for 4,
It would
do
fail.
I get those 4 back and not the 5th, or do they all fail?
All fail. So you should only request the things you have access to, and that's it. Unless
If
you
you
will
have a
fail.
person who has not good intentions and figures out that this is it, right?
Yeah, but that's what they call it. That's monitoring the screams, right? So like if something's wrong, and the way you will figure it out is by somebody yelling at you that nothing works. That's how you do it, right? If none of the passwords work, but only one. So yeah, I haven't tried it, but I would assume that's the case. Like you won't be able to get anything. So yeah. Okay, moving on. Inspector. Now this is a cool thing again, using generative AI. You will see a lot of that. That it's basically using automated reasoning, and I hate that word, but it's basically code remediation. So it can kind of look at your code, look at your application that can potentially detect vulnerabilities and issues with it, and for example, a Lambda function, right? It's a Python or not JavaScript or whatever kind of an application, and it can look at for example, security issues. Are you sanitizing your inputs or not? So it can kind of do those things. It's a service available for you right now on AWS, and it's a great way to potentially tighten up your applications running on top of AWS. Fun fact, when I was 15 years old, I hacked into my local ISP because they never sanitized their input. So the way I would log into the root console of their whatever control plane was, I would just type root, and the password was empty space or 1 = 1. And that was a SQL injection. So yeah, don't do that. Yeah, so basically it's kind of a great way to monitor not just your code, but also EC2 instances, potentially detecting issues when it comes to software vulnerabilities and a bunch of other things. So amazing. It's a tool out there. It's a great way for you to keep your security posture better. Containers, we all love to run containers on AWS. So Inspector has additional features when it comes to container assessment. Again, looks at your containers that are being deployed no matter where they are. Specifically, if you're using something called ECR, or the Elastic Container Registry, it is a place where you store your container images. So what it can do, it can scan those container images for potential vulnerabilities, even if you're launching those containers on premises in a hybrid environment or on AWS. So it's a really good thing to kind of plug into your pipeline to make sure your containers are just top notch. Okay, moving on to compute. My second favorite name at AWS when it comes to services, it's called Trainium.
Oh.
And yes, can you guess what Trainium is for?
Training your machine learning.
Yes, so Trainium is actually Trainium is a specific chip. It's actual silicon. It's a virtual machine that has dedicated chips that we've built with Annapurna Labs, and these chips are just accelerators for machine learning training. So we have additional training.
NVIDIA, you could probably use these.
So NVIDIA has their own things, yes, absolutely. And actually, my next slide is about NVIDIA, but it's kind of the same thing. It's a
800, it's like equivalent to almost like the 800.
I don't know. When it comes to the actual benchmarks, I have no idea. But the H100 is a GPU, right?
Correct.
And this is not a graphics card. It's a special, literally dedicated chip just for machine learning acceleration.
An ASIC,
Yeah, like an ASIC, yes. So this is the newest model. Again, it's 4 times faster and all that fun stuff. So, but you do have new EC2 instances with a new NVIDIA L4 GPUs. So like if you want to use NVIDIA stuff for like L40 instances or H200s as well, you can use the new EC2 instances. So new EC2 P5e instances and G6e, and the G6 instances have all the fancy new NVIDIA stuff available. Speaking of new instances, we have a high memory EC2 instances. So if you ever needed 32 terabytes of RAM, every day, yeah. You know when you're opening up too many browser tabs, or just run Slack, it's just you
Just go
Run twice.
if you run Chrome twice, you can have 32 terabytes of RAM for some reason. So
like 10,000 an hour.
let's see. I don't know. Let's see if this is available. There's a great site not run by AWS. It's AWS Price Info, I think. I'm not sure if it's still available. Is it this one? Now, I don't know if it's this one. There used to be like a third-party website which would collate all of the pricing data. So let's see. What is the name of the instance type? It's U7. U7. Oh, there's not. Okay. There's it's not available. U7 IN instance type. Oh, it's in preview. So I would imagine it's not even available for everybody.
Yeah, the prices won't be there.
Yeah, I would imagine. No prices, but you can see it has.
Pricing.
See, okay, so like we don't even have these things. They have. Well, you see on my slide here, they have 896 CPUs or virtual cores. So, crazy. So yeah.
He said that 10,000.
And listen, I work with companies who use SAP. And that's what you need. Like
for HANA.
Yeah, for HANA, this is what you need, right? It's just crazy, but you need it. So I've seen a company like 6 years ago deploy a sub HANA cluster, or I don't know how many of these insanely large instances, and the deployment itself took like 8 hours using CloudFormation. So, but it's fluffy, right? But no, it's
Shots fired.
yeah, I know, but it's
No, but that is really short, because if you tried installing SAP
yeah,
without CloudFormation,
of course, it takes a long time.
the database compile itself takes like almost 2 days.
Yeah. So like there are use cases for this. I'm sure I won't be using an instance with 32 terabytes of RAM yet, but yeah, it's there. You get really fast disk, you get really fast network bandwidth. So yeah, if you have a need for this, this is just a great way to do it.
So, Darko, just to be aware of the time and not
Yes.
to keep you up here talking for 7 hours.
Yeah.
How, we want to, not end this right now, but like, do you have like a couple of like really say like your favorite services that you want to hit on that we haven't gotten to yet? Because
I know we're getting through a lot. And remember, I've cut half the slide.
I know.
So let me go ahead here, and I'm gonna talk to you about some of my latest. Okay, here.
So let's table questions.
Yes.
If we want to hit them up afterwards, we'll get to it.
This thing, Lambda functions. It's the way we do serverless, mostly on AWS. The latest feature coming out of Lambda is that they scale 12 times faster. That means when you start invoking Lambda functions, and you have people just hammering your API endpoint. In the past, Lambda functions would slowly scale up until whatever the number that was. Like you could run tens of thousands of Lambdas concurrently. But it took some time for them to spin up. It just took a while. Now it's 12 times faster. There's nothing that needs to be changed, nothing you need to do. It's just magically faster. I don't know how they did that, but it is really amazing how fast it is. There's a blog post, I think, linked to this thing, and it actually shows an article, a graph, how faster this thing is. So absolutely a great feature when it comes to a lot of parallel work with Lambda functions, just purely amazing. Okay, moving on. I want to do a couple more things. Code Catalyst. Code Catalyst is this whole one box solution where you can create, deploy, test, DevOps your applications on the cloud. Right. You create these little blueprints where actually you had these blueprints for specific application types. You can modify, you can do things. It's all done from a single console, single pane of glass, monitoring, deployment, development, staging, all of those things are there. It's just really great. And the latest feature is coming like from enterprise grade Code Catalyst, which allows you to build custom blueprints, custom workflows, and a whole bunch of other things. So really good thing to kind of have a shared development environment. When I say shared, I mean literally you have multiple people coding on the same code base in the same text editor. It's just a really great way for collaborating people on building tools.
Is that GA?
It's GA, yes, absolutely. You can do it. Okay, let's see what else. I talked about Code Whisperer. Yes, Application Composer. Now, if you build serverless applications using SAM, which is our serverless application model, it's another version of CloudFormation. It's basically Application Composer gives you the ability to deploy applications using basically a little graphic interface where you can just draw boxes on screens and connect them together, basically create a little architecture diagram, and based off of that, it will create a little template for you to launch. I don't have a demo for you. However, I do have something almost as good. My colleague Rohini and myself did a live stream couple of weeks ago on this, and I'm going to share a link as well in the chat. Maybe Chris can do it as well. There's a link. We've done Application Composer straight from VS Code, and there's a video of it in action. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but there's a video of it in action somewhere where you can see. Maybe I have it here. There you go. But you can see how you can kind of do draw little boxes, connect to it, and make little changes to those things, and it will generate a wonderful template for you.
So it's 2 ways, right?
Sorry?
It's 2 ways, right? So
Yes, exactly. You can also give it the template, will generate the diagram for you as well. So really cool. So it's on community.aws. You can find this link. So yeah, if you go to community.aws/livestreams, you will find this thing somewhere. If you're interested in more live streams, every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, it's your boy on Twitch. So twitch.tv/AWS. But there you go. Okay. Application Composer. Moving on. Another big feature when it comes to development stuff, and this is something that I kind of felt like, oh, this must exist already, but it didn't. So step functions. Step functions are a great way to orchestrate, create a state machine out of your application, like multiple different serverless things. For example, a Lambda function is invoked. That thing gets orchestrated using step functions to something else. It goes to DynamoDB. When that executes, it goes somewhere else. It can even go and send like a workflow item to a human. Right? There's a whole thing step functions can do. One of the features step function didn't have, which kind of weird thing is, it couldn't call APIs. From this feature, you can call a third-party API. Let's just make an HTTP request somewhere with some input and retrieve the output to somewhere else. So for example, you no longer have to have a Lambda function to serve as glue to do that for you. The step function itself can do that, which is really cool because now you can, for simple applications and straightforward applications, you can literally just draw Lambdas. You don't need Lambda functions anymore. You can just do it all within step functions. So I think it's a really cool thing, and I'm a big fan of it. So, okay. As a Rust person, I must say we finally released the SDK for Rust, which is also weird. They didn't exist until recently, for Kotlin and Rust. Kotlin is Java, I would like to say. It's our Java.
Google's version of Java, because it got sold by Oracle, right? So they made Kotlin. It's like Java.
Okay, yeah. So it's like a Java version. So there's an SDK for Kotlin and also the SDK for Rust. If you're a Rust person, I will say that our SDK documentation is kind of okay. It's not perfect. There's a lot of problems in it. So if you're finding an issue there with Rust documentation, please do yell at me, and I will yell at the proper people for that. Okay, moving forward. We're on into databases. Now, a couple of cool things when it comes to databases is this zero ETL integration. One of the things I figured out as I'm getting older is that I feel like things could be simpler. So zero ETL is one of those things that makes it simple. You have your user data, your application data inside of a DynamoDB table. And you want to use that table or that data somewhere else, like in a data lake or some BI tooling or OpenSearch or whatnot. Now there's a serverless way, literally clickety click, 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 to have that data synchronized from DynamoDB to, for example, OpenSearch. You don't have to have a glue system in between or something running in between that's going to copy the data, extract it, transform it, and load it somewhere else. It's all done magically through the console interface. So I think that's a really cool thing, especially when it comes to like loading your data from DynamoDB to, for example, Redshift or I don't know, Postgres, or like, for example, data from an Aurora table to Redshift as well. So really great way to streamline data movement to some sort of an analytics entity. So really great thing. In the past, you had to either use tooling or a lot more glue in between. Okay, let's see what else. Here's a blast from the past. I'm not this old, but I've worked with DB2. So DB2 is a wonderful database coming from IBM. And so far, most people who run, I would say a lot of, what is it called?
Mainframes.
Mainframes run DB2 as a database. You can now run DB2 on AWS, which is a neat feature if that's your thing. That's all. But it is important because a lot of people are migrating mainframes to the cloud. So this is a really great way to migrate your DB2 database from on-premises to the cloud. And what's weird thing here is like most stuff on AWS, you can just click, load, it runs. This doesn't work that way. You need a license from IBM. Like it won't even launch unless you give it a license key. So, which is kind of a weird thing to demo online because I have to get a license key. So.
Unbelievable, like Oracle, you can just click. It's DB2.
You literally have to paste in a license key to launch it. So yeah, it's one of those services. But yeah, it's everything. It's available mostly everywhere except China and Glove Cloud. But yeah, that thing. Okay, moving on to storage. I will talk about one important thing. That's S3. And S3 wants store. So horrible name. Amazon S3 Express One Zone Storage. It literally means that your data is only stored in a single availability zone. That means it's less resilient, but it is sitting in a zone of your choice, which means it is faster to get your data to wherever you need to be. So if you need if you need to increase the data access speeds, this is the way to do it, right? So specifically when it comes to like loading data into Athena or Elastic MapReduce, or having it mounted on an EC2 instance. So it's cheaper, but it's also less resilient, if that makes sense. But for some reason, for some stuff, that's fine. Another thing connected to this one is called mount points for S3. Now, I used to work in premium support at AWS, and there was a third-party tool called S3-Fuse.
Yes.
Everybody wanted to use it, and we had strict instructions to tell people do not use this, because people would basically mount an S3 bucket as a file system, and that would mess things up so bad. But now we launched it, so I guess fine, it's okay now. Basically, what you can do, you can mount an S3 bucket as a file system to an EC2 instance, to anything, and it will just present itself as a mount point somewhere in Linux. It has its limitations. It's a really great way to access the data. Storing the data is kind of weird. You can store the data, but I don't think you can update data.
You can't update.
You can't update it an object, so you can create a new file, but you can't write to that new file. So it's a
delete and write that.
you can exactly you can CRD, you can CRUD, you can SCRD. So yeah. But yeah, that's it. It's a great way. Again, the biggest use case for this is specifically for machine learning, because a lot of data is required for people to run machine learning trainings. This is a great way for people to pull that data off. Okay, getting.
Real quick, there was a DB2 question in the chat.
Yes.
Are you able to bring your own license?
Yes,
You have to
yeah.
bring your own license.
Absolutely,
Okay.
you bring your own license. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see it in action, because I did actually show it in action somewhere. So no, it's not there. It is here. It's not there. Where is
Do
it?
you want to show it in the end, and then we can?
I want to give this link to also to people on Zoom. So I had a live stream where Chris was also part of it. Or it was called Recap, where I did this thing over 3 days. So, there's I'm gonna put this link on Zoom, but there's an example of myself, Tony, and Ibrahim actually showing how DB2 works in action. We spinned it up, we launched it, we added some data to it and all that fun stuff. So I'll drop this link in the Zoom call as well for people out there.
Sure, IBM isn't too happy.
Well, I mean, we work with IBM, so yeah, here's the link to the thing. But yeah.
I'm not happy about anything, so it's fine.
Yeah, but what about their cash cow, the mainframe?
We also have a bunch of, I don't have those slides here, but we have a bunch of like mainframe modernization stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Here. Like you can like migrating AS400s on the cloud as well. So there's a bunch of stuff out there, because that's a huge use case. I'm actually quite surprised to see how many mainframes still there are out there, right? So
Still, if you still see in banking and insurance, it's still 80% of the core
Yeah.
business is mainframes.
and this used to be the part of the world where they made the mainframes. Massachusetts was Data General, right? And
No, digital.
Digital.
but also Data General was here, right?
Bank and tech.
Yeah, but you're going back in the 80s.
80s. I have a mini computer at home. I have a Data General S320.
You have a bunch of Commodore 64s.
Commodores are new. This thing I have is a whole, like, it's a big fridge type computer from 1976, and it has a sticker property of the US government. So
You are clearly not in a studio apartment.
no.
You're
So
a
all
Wang,
the airport
Wang
kids-
computer.
Wangs as well, yeah.
Yeah, Wang was here.
Wang, but it's somewhere close to Boston. They're called Data General. They used to be one of those big players.
Yeah, no, they were right down the street,
Oh yeah, there you go.
down on Route 1.
Okay, so a couple more things when it comes to the launches. Let me see. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, this was a big deal. So one of the ways you create applications on the cloud is just doing Terraform, you're doing CloudFormation, you do a bunch of different things, a bunch of different services are doing its own thing and creating an application. We made a thing called My Applications, which sounds so much 2008, but we created a thing called My Applications, and it's kind of a dashboard for your application. Anything that's created using specific tags, keywords, or specifically a CloudFormation stack can be added here. So like all of the metrics, all the logs, all of the stuff you need to do to operate and manage this application can be seen on the same single pane. So this is GA. This was wanted to reinvent. It's a really, really neat feature out there.
To be clear, you don't have to say Terraform because I'm sitting here.
I know. I have to say always Terraform. Anytime I say CloudFormation, Terraform. I still remember the day when I first met Terraform.
Yeah.
She was wonderful. And back then you can only write CloudFormation in JSON,
Yeah.
which is just hot take. Nobody should ever write JSON. JSON is only to be consumed by a machine, not a human. So there you go. You're welcome.
Have you heard the Apple has come up with something called pickles?
Pickle, yeah, something like that, PKL, it's something, yeah.
It's basically a glorified JSON.
Yeah, so everybody has their own, Rust has its own markup language called Ron. So everybody just, I don't know, I guess. Okay, let's see. What else? I have a lot of slides hidden here, so because I didn't really want to even show them because there's too much. And then, oh my God, am I done? No, I'm not done. Yes, okay. A couple of interesting features for people out building applications. Application load balancers is a load balancer that sits in front of applications. So far, the way you would do like mutual authentication between clients was just using passing credentials to each other. Right now, there's native support for X509 certificates. So basically, two clients can talk to each other, can authenticate to each other by presenting those certificates. It's available directly on the application load balancer, which is really, really cool. And this is also a new feature, specifically when it comes to application load balancers. You can do target weights. That means that it will specifically send the right amount of traffic to each client. You can have like hundreds of instances, hundreds of servers behind the load balancer. In the past, it can just do like round robin, least outstanding requests, but now it can do weighted random, which can kind of like optimize the amount of traffic sending to a specific place. Right?
So does it also have the sticky factor, or I have to use?
Yes, it always has, like it has session stickiness, so it will know that like it will not throw your request to a different instance if you have something running, a session running on one. So yeah, that was one of the most important things in the past as well. So here's a cool thing. I don't know why this is part of AWS, but Project Kuiper, private connectivity. Basically, we're launching a bunch of satellites in orbit. This means there's going to be a lot of localized.
Starlink equivalent.
I don't know. Like I heard people saying that it's going to be like a network internet provider deal. I have no idea. But ultimately, what's going to happen here is that you're going to have a lot of more direct connectivity to like local AWS networks. Like for example, if you live in an area where there's no direct connectivity to AWS, you can use the satellites to directly connect as well. So, oh, my favorite launch. So we talked about old computers. Fun fact about me, I collect old computers. I have like a lot of old computers, anything from the 70s up to the 2000s. I think I have like 10 Spark workstations at home. Remember Sun and Spark? Oh yeah. You can run Spark on AWS now. You can emulate Spark.
You don't need them anymore.
They're beautiful. So you can literally run emulated hardware for Spark if you have a need for like to run some old Sun OS or Solaris systems on them. Because again,
have it.
Yeah, until 2014, I used to work for a company where we actively ran Spark systems. Like the whole bit of network was run on Spark. So if you have a need to do some Spark or migrate something stuff off Spark, you can do it on the cloud now.
So is this like the same thing like DB2? You need to go to Oracle and get your license or not? You can table it like.
I don't really.
In the questions there, Drew.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like I feel like you would need a license because you just can't run Sun OS without a license. You have to have a license. So I'm sure there's a licensing system to it, but I don't know how that actually works.
They were great for CAD systems.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of like Sun Pizza Box systems and Sun Powers as well. They're the most amazing piece of engineering, and I'm so sad Sun Microsystems died because it was the perfect tech company.
Oh, they were beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah. I have but they're power hungry. I have a Sun Ultra 45 on idle. It's like 600 watts.
I'm sorry.
No. I will go down this road a lot. So
Chris is going to come kick us.
No, you guys are fine. Darko can wax poetic about old hardware for days.
I'll talk about it all day. Do you remember Silicon Graphics?
Yes, Indigo.
Yeah, I have Indigo and Indies at home as well.
I went out there a couple
Phoenix,
times.
right?
Yeah, really neat campus.
And yeah, that's it. I think that's all of the stuff I wanted to cover. Now, I legit have 194 slides on this deck. I will see if I can send you these slides because they contain a lot more information that I gave here. But if you are interested, I'll get into this.
Question. You have a question?
Yeah. Yes.